Hello, and welcome to this Friday conversation edition of the Lee Summit Town Hall podcast. We're going to do something a little bit different this week. Instead of me sitting down with a special guest, my friends at downtown Lee Summit Main Street and Chad Godfrey at Summit Video Services has allowed me to use some footage and some audio that they took of Mr. Howard McCracken. Howard McCracken was a founding member of downtown Lee Summit Main Street and the founding board president. He is one of the reasons that we have the amazing downtown district that we have in this community, and we lost Mr. McCracken in the last week, and earlier this week we had funeral services for him, and the entire community owes a huge debt of gratitude to Mr. McCracken. And I and several others on the board at downtown Lee Summit Main Street, the staff on downtown Lee Summit Main Street, and the hundreds and hundreds of volunteers who work to promote and keep this district the amazing place it is, owe him a big, giant thank you and a good on ya for all the work that he did. So that's all I'm going to say, actually, and I'm just going to I will hit play and allow you to hear one of these final interviews with Mr. McCracken that was done for a special video to celebrate downtown Lee Summit's 30th anniversary. Here you go.
Well, my name is, of course, Howard McCracken, and I'm 98 years old, and I've been around here a while, but Lee Summit's my favorite place. I've lived here since 1951 in Lee Summit. Well, I have seven places on Green Street right across from the City Hall. There's there at 3rd and Green and up Green to the alley. And our buildings are old. Them buildings is old. I bought them, back in, from Todd George, back in about 1960 or so, about close to 1970, I guess, when we purchased the buildings. Back then, Todd lived at 318. He lived, and I used to go up and visit with him. I knew him real well. He was a nice old man. Well, I said old man, he was just a nice gentleman. And we had some nice relationships together. He was in the real estate business there, and I remember one incident when our building caught on fire, one of them, and Todd owned the buildings at that time, and he come walking right down the middle of the street, and I told him, I said, Todd, everything will be okay. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine. And it was. He had some insurance, and we just built it back and done the best we could. What really started it all, my daughter here, this one here, lived up in Illinois, and they had what they called the Spoon River Festival in a lot of little towns up there. And so we was up there, and I got interested in it, and I thought, well, why can't we have something in the downtown area? And so I got with some of the people in the downtown association at that time, and I told them, I said, let's go to the city and see if we can't have something like that. And we did. And they said, oh, I don't think you can have that downtown. It just wouldn't work. I said, how do you know? You haven't tried it. And so they finally agreed to have it. I think it seems like to me it was 1 year they'd tried or something, but anyway, we tried it, and it became successful, and it's just grown and grown and grown, and it's really, really a big thing now for Lee Summit, and I'm sure glad because, like I say, I've lived here so long that, and of course, downtown's my favorite place, But anyway, when we started the old time days, they called it old time days at that time. It just grew and grew, and like I say, I mainly was interested in getting old time days started, or helping get it started, so that the people could come downtown and have a place to visit and shop, and but mainly the kids. I wanted a place for the kids, because like I say, I love children. You probably can tell that. We went around and I started trying to get members and so forth like that. And I was all over town trying to get members, and we got it. We got enough members and so forth, and got it started. But I think the best I can remember, I think maybe it was maybe a year or 2 years before it was incorporated as downtown Main Street. And then in 1989, they formed a corporation, and they voted me in. Of course, I was more or less headed it up anyway, Dale and I, and some of the others. I'm not trying to take credit for it, because, it's just grown and grown. And what I like about it is, at least back when I was in business there, you closed at 6 o'clock at night. There just wasn't anything going on. But now look at the downtown area. It's booming. I mean, I think the merchants are really happy, most of them, with the downtown area now. And it's changed so much. And I think all of it's been for the good. I'm just an old country boy myself. And, it's just like right now, I could put a tie on and put a lot of front on, but I don't do that. I think I'm just a normal person, And I've got a lot of friends, and Dr. Zaki is one of them, he's a very nice guy. But I had a lot of them. I don't know how many we ended up before it was incorporated, but we built it up pretty fast when we started. But we had to work pretty hard to get around and get the merchants interested in, But, of course, any merchant's interested in doing the best they can for themselves, and I don't blame them. I did too when I was in business. But there's a difference between, you just got to try to be fair with everybody. That's the main thing. Then when this all started, it just seemed to expand and grow and get bigger. And now I think you can't go downtown hardly any time unless you find a place to park. That's why the city needs to build another parking lot. Yeah. And I guess they will eventually, I don't know. All the people that I worked with and worked with me, I enjoyed it back in those days, and I think we got along, real good. And I think that's why it became more prosperous all the time. And so I don't want to mention a lot of names, because all of them was good. All of them was on this board of directors when it was formed, was good. And I like it here. Like I say, I've been here since 1951 in Lee Summit. So I know a little bit about it. I've seen it grow. That's about all I got to say.
And there you have it. The final words from Mr. Howard McCracken, the founding board president for downtown Lee Summit Main Street. Rest in peace, Mr. McCracken, and thank you for all you have done for our community. We'll talk to everyone on Monday.
I don't know how much longer I'll be here, but I'm going to be here as long as I can, I'll tell you that. Okay.
You have been listening to Lee Summit Town Hall, a Link to Lee Summit podcast with hosts Nick Parker and Jason Norberry. A proud member of the Fredcast Network, you can subscribe to this podcast on most of your favorite podcast apps and catch us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for all the news, analysis, and conversations on the Lee Summit community. Connect with us on Facebook at Link to Lee Summit or on Twitter at LS Town Hall.